Modern, adaptable, transitional, consummate. Today, we're talking about my favorite item of clothing. Not like a specific piece, like this is my favorite single pair of sneakers, but like an item category. You know, like brogues or V-neck sweaters or cod pieces. Actually, that's what the video is about. Yo, all my homies love cod pieces, okay? Let's get codded. Am I right?
No, never mind.
A little cod goes a long way in this world. No need to overdo it, right? Now, there is an item that is so goated, so essential in my opinion, that has been disrespected and degraded and stomped on by the runway designers of the world. It is, in my opinion, maybe the most underutilized functional piece in high fashion over the past, 30 years? I'm trying to think of how to explain this. Like, I know I sound manic right now, okay? It's just, I love this item so much. It's like the ratio between how well-liked this item is in everyday clothing to how often it is utilized in a runway or an editorial context. The ratio is just all out of whack, okay? And the problem is, I can't understand why. Like, okay, Heelys, right? You know, the sneakers, the wheel underneath in the sole, they're quite functional in some ways, okay? And maybe like I could see them doing one gimmick luxury runway collab, but that would probably be it because there really aren't that many ways to reinvent a Heely or utilize it in a new way. But imagine if like turtlenecks were barely used on the runway. That would be weird, right? Like, they're an item with such a long history. There are so many ways to do them. Like, is it a classic turtleneck or a mock neck? Or is it a roll neck? Is it a cowl neck? Is it solid or striped? Is it cotton? Is it wool? Is it cashmere? Is it angora? Is it viscose? Like, I could go on. I'm being annoying to prove a point, like on purpose, but there are a million ways to do a turtleneck, right? Which is why you see them on the runway all the time, and it would be weird if you basically never saw them on the runway. The item I'm talking about today is, in my opinion, more versatile than the turtleneck. The variations you can do with it, the ways in which you can make it high or low, play with how it's made, how it's worn, and all of these things should make it the perfect piece in the modern marriage of street style and runway fashion. And have I built it up enough? Have I done my job here? Have I edged you hard enough? And now you're just absolutely ready to bust, wondering what this item is? Okay, all right, I'll tell you. The most disrespected item in high fashion, my favorite type of clothing item, is the zip-up hoodie. Yeah, for real. And you might find that a bit anticlimactic, I know. And you'll be like,
look at this idiot. Obviously, high fashion designers know and love zip-up hoodies and use them all the time.
That's what I thought too, until I realized that it was all an illusion, okay? But we'll get back to that. First, what do I love about a zip-up hoodie? Why do I love them? Well, first of all, I live in the Northeast and we have seasons here, okay? And sometimes it transitions between seasons and like you don't even know what to wear, you know? Like sometimes it's like, bro, it's so hot, bro. It's like so sticky, bro, and I'm so sweaty. And then it gets dark and like, bro, it can be kind of chilly as fall a little bit, right? Like I was sweaty wetty and now I'm a little chilly willy, you feel me, bro? Like my willy was sweaty and sticky and now it's like a little itty bitty chilly willy, you know, bro? Sometimes it do be like that, bro. In non-16-year-old TikTok fashion bro speak, what I'm trying to say is that in places with seasons, sometimes the weather is inconsistent, and the zip-up hoodie is the perfect item for that. You leave your house for the day, you're wearing a t-shirt, and you tie the zip-up hoodie around your waist, and then in the late afternoon, it cools down a little bit, so you toss it on, but like, you don't zip it up, you know, you wear it like a cardigan, and then at night, it gets full-on cold, and you zip that bad boy all the way up, and I know a lot of people prefer a classic pullover hoodie. I know this, I get this, but this is the advantage that a zip-up has. It has that extra between stage where you're covered, but it's still open and giving you airflow, you know what I mean? But all of this is just in a day-to-day context. I also think the zip-up hoodie is a perfect piece for a stylish person trying to look good. When you're wearing a pullover hoodie, you're flexing a single item, that hoodie. That's all you can see, right? With a zip-up, you can flex an additional item underneath, and depending on the style, they could be thin enough, right, to layer on more on top, and beyond that, you can leave it unzipped, half-zipped, full-zipped. The options are plentiful. Basically, the zip-up hoodie is just as useful in a fashion context as a bomber or a zipped windbreaker or a track jacket or a leather jacket. You get the point. Actually, maybe you don't get the point. We'll be back to put your favorite designers on blast, okay? We are gonna absolutely expose your goats of fashion, all right? I promise. But let me demonstrate for you just how useful a zip-up hoodie can be in your style arsenal. Now, do you really want to know what the best item in fashion is? It's not the zip-up hoodie, okay? The best item in fashion is actually the low luxury Patreon, because if you join the low luxury Patreon, you get into the Discord, you get private sales, you get all sorts of special videos, all sorts of stuff like that, a cool community going on there. So join the low luxury Patreon, link in the description. Welcome to the weird angle. Yes, I know it's weird, but I went to film school, okay? I know angles. You'll learn more about this stuff behind me in another video, but for now, this is what I got. So we'll start off. This is like the casual way that you usually see people wearing zip-up hoodies, right? T-shirt, hoodie, unzipped, casual, shorts. It's not doing anything special, right? But that kind of belies the crazy functionality that this garment has. And now I have thrown on a jacket, an older Beauty Beast jacket, and now the hoodie is serving a very different purpose, because for all intents and purposes right now, this is a disembodied hood, right? Because the hoodie itself is unzipped. All you really get are some drawstrings that may show at different points, very cool, and the hood, and that's the function that you're getting out of this thing. And runway shows really primarily are advertisements for your brand. It is the designer showing the brand at its best. I know I am much more likely to buy a piece when I've seen it on the runway. It just gives it much more like cachet, legitimacy. So if this were your standard pullover hoodie, you would be selling 3 items from what you can see right now. You'd be selling the hoodie, because it would be closed, right? The jacket, and the pants. But right now, you can see the hoodie, the shirt underneath, which is another very sellable item for a lot of brands. Another thing that zip-ups are able to do that pullovers aren't is have a little bit of the in-between state. Like right now, you are seeing the t-shirt, and sometimes just that peak of the graphic or the color or the texture or whatever it is all you really need to get out of it. Some zip-up hoodies, such as this one, have multiple zippers in order to create interesting shapes out of this. Like, I don't know why you would want to do this, but you can. And then you've got stuff like my favorite Enfants Riches Deprimes hoodie, this one right here, very bush-filled, but it's also serving a very different purpose. This one is multi-layered. This is completely lined in a thermal fabric, and that is a separate layer than the outer. So this is much closer to a piece of outerwear than a kind of middle layering transitional type piece. And because of that, it has much more dropped, slouched shoulders. It kind of flows open on its own. It's heavier and it's rounder to serve as that outer layering piece. So now the zip-up hoodie is basically taking the place of a zip-up jacket, holding the layers underneath within, where you got the t-shirt and now a button-up, kind of sheer silky button-up, and the piece of outerwear here. And then finally, you can have stuff like this amazing vintage chrome hearts hoodie. And yeah, sure, it's got like a leather patch at the back, very cool, but in a runway context, you're almost certainly never gonna see that. Instead, it's gonna be a layering piece. You can see this one is very cropped, so when paired with something high-waisted, you're kind of fulfilling that 2/3 golden ratio rule to wear a very differently proportioned piece of outerwear to create a very interestingly stylish set of pieces. I'm just left wondering why I see more duffel coats on the runway than zip-up hoodies. Duffel coats? That is such an ancient style of garment that I couldn't even tell you where the name comes from. Like, it almost sounds like one of those like root word things from our European ancestors. Like,
doofel. It's a Dutch word that means a pair of hogs, okay?
I don't know what a duffel coat is. Do you? No, I would rather wear a zip-up hoodie. That was a tangent. Man, back to me. So why is it that fashion designers don't actually utilize this wonderful piece of clothing? Now, you could certainly say, but I've seen Gucci zip-up hoodies, I've seen Saint Laurent ones and Dior ones and so on and so forth. I'm telling you though, look at the runways. Look at the runways. The signs are on the runways. I've seen the numerology, and the runways tell the real story. The zip-up hoodie is the lost goat of a runway fashion, okay? I think we can all agree that the zip-up hoodie is most closely aligned with, like street style, athletic wear, athleisure, workwear, stuff like that. Who are the designers who have historically been most likely to merge those styles with runway fashion? The first name that comes to my mind is Helmut Lang, and to be fair, he does have the earliest example I could personally find of a designer zip-up hoodie, right? Here's the thing though. It doesn't really look like a zip-up hoodie, right? And this one is from 1998, supposedly, by the way. Okay, the fabrication has a weird windbreakery look to it, and the pockets are kind of like a military coat style, and it just doesn't feel right. Like, it's not doing the zip-up justice. This is not the zip-up hoodie that I know and love, and this is something we're gonna see constantly. Designers seem just embarrassed to simply make a good zip-up hoodie, so they try to find these weird, worse ways to reinvent it in different formats. You'll see, okay? But the other thing is, I wasn't able to actually find this on the runway from that period of 1998-ish. So maybe Helmut Lang made this piece, but apparently he didn't feel it was up to snuff to put on the runway. And that is another pattern, it seems. I actually went through Helmut Lang's runway shows, and it wasn't until an entire 5 years later that he actually showed a proper zip-up hoodie in an elevated runway context. And this is why this entire thing is so weird to me. It looks great. It looks perfectly at home on the runway here. So what is the reason for designers to avoid this item like the plague, okay? Next up in our however many horsemen of the street style runway apocalypse roundup is Raf Simons. Daddy Raf, baby. Sure, he's now at Prada, but historically he has been lauded as the progenitor of runway streetwear. I can talk, okay? Okay, listen, I think Raf Simons' Riot Bomber maybe single-handedly created modern archive fashion culture where dudes are selling crusty old dry rotted t-shirts to each other for $600, all right? Anyway, Raf has been around for a long time, but his collections are better documented starting in the early 2000s, so let's start with Spring-Summer 2002. Let's go through until we get to a zip-up hoodie. Okay, so looking through here, scanning, and oh, there it is. Oh wait, nope, that is a button-up hoodie. What? Sure, it serves basically the same purpose in maybe a slightly more tailored way, but wouldn't a zip-up have done just fine there? All right, 2003, I'm sure we'll have better luck. All right, yeah, New Kids Inc., an iconic design, no hate, for sure, but where's the zipper? Basically, what he's done here is created a hooded cardigan out of a hoodie material. Again, serves many of these same use cases as a zip-up, but okay, Raf just took a zip-up hoodie and made it less functional. Good job, dude. Anyway, 2004. All right, 2004 is going to be our year. I can feel it. So let's get a look and... No, you didn't. No, you did not, bro. No, you did not make an open hoodie with tie closures. Why did you do this? The dude doesn't have an issue with zippers. He uses them all the time. So for real, what gives here? I feel like I'm losing my mind. Oh my God. All right. Maybe the next season, fall 2004, and getting a look through, and yes, finally, maybe. Listen, fuzzy 20-year-old photos suck. It looks kind of like a zip-up pajama hoodie, but the zipper pull is kind of weird. I don't know. I'm 50-50 on this one. Maybe we can count it. So, maybe let's just give him one more chance. All right, maybe in 2005, he figured out how to make a true zip-up hoodie, and are you kidding me? Are you freaking joshing me, Raf Simons? Are you pulling on my funny bone intentionally, or is my funny bone just throbbing all on its own? I do not get it. Y'all, he put the zipper everywhere except where they're supposed to be. How does it keep getting worse? How? You've probably had enough of this, and I have too, so I'll cut to the chase. I went through every Raf Simons collection, and it was not until 2016, a full decade after the last piece we looked at, that I saw an honest-to-God proper zip-up hoodie in one of his runway collections. And again, it looks great, okay? Sure, it's mostly covered up, but that just goes to show that it can be a great layering piece. It seems like Raf made every single piece he could in every iteration he could, and finally was like, okay, I guess now, decades into my career, I can make a single zip-up hoodie. It's just madness. Let's look at our next contestant. In my mind, there is not a single fashion designer who is better at creating beautiful layers than Yohji Yamamoto, the Japanese designer. Like, there is no one who can make a cloak or a cape or a smock or a formless whatever look better than Yohji. So he must have been doing these early on, right? And the answer is maybe. In spring 1998, he made a piece that's kind of a jacket, kind of a cardigan, kind of a zip-up hoodie, but it is definitely a street-style piece with a hood and a zipper on the runway, so we've got to give credit where it's due. As you can tell, my expectations are at an all-time low here. I kept going through Yohji collections too though, and the next one I saw wasn't until almost a decade later once again, when he did a sort of zip-up hoodie, but again this one is knit, and I guess at this point I'm just wondering why the best fashion designers in the world can only put a zip-up hoodie on the runway like once per generation or so. Like, I feel like my brain is melting and it doesn't really make sense, okay? Now, if there is one designer who fashion bros love and who loves layering accessible, sellable pieces, it's Hedi Slimane. You probably know this story, but the dude was at Dior, then Saint Laurent, then Celine, and the dude has been known for popularizing skinny jeans, leather jackets, t-shirts, just real street-style bro. You know what I mean? So he must have done a zip-up hoodie. I mean, the dude loves regular pullover hoodies. Here's one from 2003, early days at Dior. Looks great, for sure, okay? But alas, even Hedi got stuck in the open hoodie quicksand. It's like their brains block out the concept of zippers when it comes to hoodies. Like, here he is in 2004, once again trying to invent new ways to create an open hoodie. Newsflash, Hedi, it already existed. It was called a zip-up hoodie, and you could have used that here. I'm gonna be real with you, I literally couldn't find Dior Homme zip-up hoodies on the runway in a single one of his collections there. Like, this guy claims to have one from 2005 online, but it seems to be maybe like Japan exclusive, and I never saw it in a proper runway collection, so much like Helmut Lang, it don't count, okay? Yohji was kind of a saving grace, so let's go back to Japan. Undercover is a brand that since the 1990s has been making innovative punk and street-influenced luxury clothing, but again, I struck out with them for years and years. In 2004, they did their famous But Beautiful collection, and at this point, I guess I'm just giving passes left and right because this is very clearly a parka, but I'm just happy to see a zip-up hooded item. Like, give me a break, guys, please. I'll take anything at this point, okay? However, eventually Undercover really did come through for me. Spring 2006 was a huge breakthrough in runway zip-up hoodie technology, and Jun Takahashi, the designer behind Undercover, he cracked the code. They whipped out hit after hit after hit, sending a veritable tsunami of zip-up hoodies down the runway, and yet again, I'm left wondering what takes these people so long, because it just works. It just works, okay? By the way, I would say in that collection, Undercover was doing the thing that Vetements got famous for literally 10 years later, and by the way, Vetements is the brand I maybe most associate with zip-up hoodies, and they didn't do one in their first collection. They didn't do one in their second collection, okay? Vetements' third collection in fall-winter 2016, they needed a track jacket to make a zip-up hoodie. Like, they needed that excuse or something, and finally, my goodness, they finally made one, and even then, it is the plainest zip-up I have ever seen. Like, it's almost like an afterthought, like, fine, you wanted a zip-up hoodie, low luxury, here you go. I guess I would also be remiss not to mention that Alexander Wang did do one in 2008, but Alexander Wang is an alleged predator and just seems like kind of an asshole, and all of these things are my opinion, and please don't sue me because he seems to be sue happy. I'm using seems and allegedly a lot to protect myself, and okay, Alexander Wang did a zip-up hoodie, but I don't like Alexander Wang, so I don't care. And now listen, of all people, did it really have to be Kanye West to be our zip-up savior? Apparently, yes, because On the runway, in various Yeezy seasons, Kanye West did make zip-up hoodies, and he seemed to like them very much, and maybe that's the reason that they started getting so popular in the 2015 through 2017 period in street fashion. But my lord, why did it have to be Ye, okay? Considering all the stuff that he's been up to lately, whether it's cousins or political views or all sorts of stuff, okay? Now, I have not hid the fact at all that my favorite fashion brand, my favorite luxury brand, my favorite runway brand, my favorite designer brand is Enfants Riches Deprimes, all right, ERD. And this brand, ERD, my favorites, they put out 3 to 5 zip-up hoodies every season, as far as I can tell, and they tend to sell out very quickly. These are a very popular item for ERD, so clearly they understand the value of the zip-up hoodie as they sell so many of them, but they have not featured a zip-up hoodie, okay? Listen to this. They haven't featured a zip-up hoodie in a runway or editorial collection since spring/summer 2020. 5 years ago. And even then, they only showed it from the back. This is the Christians Can't Dance hoodie, and it's got this print on the back. I get the front isn't that interesting, but you couldn't even show the front, so you can't even tell it's a zip-up hoodie. It's like they're ashamed of the fact that they put a zip-up hoodie in a runway collection. And even then, I don't think this was on the runway. Oh my God. The last time they used a zip-up hoodie overtly was 2019, okay? This is shameful that you sell so many of them, yet you refuse to put them on the runway even though they clearly work. Now, let's make one more stop here. Balenciaga. Demna Gvasalia, he just recently left Balenciaga to go to Gucci, but he has been at Balenciaga since 2016, and he is, I would say historically, the best ever at respecting the zip-up hoodie as a runway fashion item. He did them last year in 2024. He did them in 2023. Listen, bro, he did a couture zip-up hoodie, and he didn't even hide it under anything. He didn't make it weirdly open and refuse to put a zipper on it. He just put front and center. This is a couture zip-up hoodie, and it deserves to be here. My God, my goat. Thank you, Demna. I'm not even that into Balenciaga these days anymore, but my God, does the boy respect a zip-up hoodie? The answer is yes, all right? Now, finally, let's check back in on the GOAT, Hedi Slimane. We gave him a bit of crap about his lack of understanding of the iconic zip-up hoodie in his time at Dior, but it's been 20 years since then. He must have learned. Let's check out his first Celine collection. All right, going through there, going through, checking. No. Nope. Okay, fine. His second collection for Celine. Okay, no, but to be fair, there were barely any zippers there, period. And this was 2019, okay? Maybe he's seen the light in the past 5 years, all right? Scanning. Nope, that is a weird built-in hybrid piece. Doesn't count. I'm just giving up. I'm giving up at this one. I'm done looking through runway collections. I've probably looked at 200 runway collections in research for this video, and I think I found enough evidence that the zip-up hoodie is the most disrespected piece in runway fashion. And my problem with this isn't just that they don't use them on the runway. That's annoying because they're my favorite transitional/layering piece. My issue, though, is that every single one of these brands heavily respects the zip-up hoodie as a commercial item. Hell, if you go into almost any brand's boutique, they'll probably have a branded zip-up for you to buy. My issue is that they're happy to sell you one, but they're not going to make the effort to show you why you should give them your money for it. Every brand on the planet at this point has elevated the t-shirt, the pullover hoodie, the jeans, the sneaker, the bomber by giving it a place of prominence on the runway. Why has my beloved zip-up hoodie been left behind? Where is the riot bomber of zip-ups? The zip-up that shows all of the other zip-ups what they could be if they really put their minds to it. So that's my problem here, is that I don't think that zip-up hoodie exists. And hopefully someday someone will heed my words and really show it in the light that it deserves to be shown in. Demna has come close. Listen, a couture zip-up hoodie, I don't know actually if that's really toppable. But even then, I would like to see different iterations of the zip-up hoodie, better ones, used in different ways, because Demna used it in a very specific way. He used it really to frame up the face, something he's historically been really good at from his asymmetrical things, very interesting collars. He loves just like showing up the face, kind of like this, you know what I mean? And he loved doing that with zip-up hoodies too, but there are so many other ways to utilize this item that I find really interesting and cool, and I'm just biased. I really like these. I bet I'm going to have tons of people in my comments saying that pullover hoodies are a million times better because I've heard that over and over again in my life, and you're just wrong. I mean, you're not. It's your opinion, but my opinion is better than your opinion. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you agree? Am I making it too big a deal of all of this? Are you like, no, you're way wrong? Do you have a million examples of zip-up hoodies being used on the runway that I didn't find here? Really let me know. I'd love to have that conversation here. And also, join my Patreon. We got a great Discord, a lot of private selling going on, really good prices. Join up, and I'll see you next time. Peace.